It's some 14 minutes after 7. You're welcome to my banner. It's an early banner today. And we're breaking this issue of the petroleum bill down. You know that Parliament started the debates on the petroleum bill. The amendment, among other things, seeks to change the pricing of petroleum revenue dynamics. The bill, when passed, will make it mandatory for the service providers to publish the prices in the media and also on the National Petroleum Authority websites. But this is just a little portion of the entire bill. My guest right now, who sits on the Mines and Energy Committee, is Adam Mutawakilo. We're hoping that Mr. Ben Boachi of the African Center for Energy Policy will join us on this conversation. But good morning, Honorable. Thanks for coming.
Good morning.
So this was also in our AM news early this morning. We realized that Parliament is talking about this. This is a bill that's been going back and forth for a very long while. Finally, you're talking about it.
Yeah, thank you very much. The National Petroleum Authority Act regulates the downstream industry in the petroleum sector. And the main policy that was adopted was to move from regulation to deregulation. This was adopted in 2005, and that brought into being this National Petroleum Authority. So the main purpose is to move from regulation, where the National Petroleum Authority is responsible for certain prices, to where the demand and supply interplay. And therefore, that is deregulation.
Isn't that where we're almost practicing now?
We are moving gradually. We are moving for some time now. Yes, National Petroleum Authority do not come to announce, but they have the price range. And they still monitor the various OMCs and distributors. As they sell, when your prices go beyond the limit, they still come to advise you and ask you to reduce it to be within a certain range. So even though they still regulate, but they are still operating behind the scenes. Yes, that is what they are doing currently.
But what is significant is you are yet to pass that bill that will allow for this, what we are practicing now.
In that case, it is not full-blown deregulation. Full-blown deregulation means that National Petroleum Authority role will not be to set prices, but to do other functions as the quality of the product, to ensure that it is not diluted with other petroleum products. For example, mixing some pre-mixed fuel with diesel or gasoline, which we call petrol, or gas oil, which is diesel. So they will move more on to ensuring that Ghanaians have value for money in terms of quality, instead of setting prices and regulating prices. So it's more becoming liberal. But as at now, they still set the price limits. And when you go beyond it, they will come and advise you and ask you to come within that range. So even though...
But when this becomes law, what will change then?
There will be full interplay of demand and supply.
What does that mean?
As the price of oil falls, the various OMCs will have to come out.
And the MPA will not have any role?
They would still have a role, but not regulating prices. That is what I'm saying.
So nothing will change. I mean, what we are practicing now will be the same, right?
No, as at now, I told you that MPA still has a price range, but it doesn't come out publicly to tell the public that this is the price range. Because the moment it comes to say the price range is between 2 and 4, there is the likelihood that most of the OMC will price, let's say, 3.9. So it does its own calculation and stay behind and allow the OMC to do their own pricing. But whereby you go beyond the price range, they will invite you and ask you. So there is a little bit of deregulation that is still ongoing.
But when this is passed...
But this is passed, then it's full interplay of demand and supply.
So then there's no price range anymore?
No. Yes.
Okay.
So that is deregulation, where the fuel price determines. Yes. So yesterday we went through the amendments, and it's likely today, most probably with the wisdom of the Speaker and the leadership of Parliament, we could pass it. And
so this is, okay, and this is the pricing issue.
yes.
Okay.
This one, first of all, Section 2 seems to remove the pricing formula of MPA, where it mandates that the MPA should set the prices using a pricing formula, was taken out of the parent act, that is the original act, and replaced with advertising and publishing it at the website of MPA without a reference to the pricing formula. Yes.
So now we're going to finally put into law an illegality that we've been practicing for a while.
It wasn't illegal. That is what I'm saying. If MPA still regulates, it would have been, say...
But the old law does not... there's no deregulation, whether partial or fully, in the old law.
It's
That's just all I'm saying.
No, it's a process. The main policy adopted in 2007 is a process. So as at now, MPA is not full-blown deregulation. It still regulates the prices. But instead of coming to announce, it doesn't. So until we pass the law to give them full-blown deregulation, I will still say there's some little bit of
So that does not make it illegal?
And when we say illegal or illegal, depends on individuals.
Because I know that what we... Okay,
somebody
fine,
might see it as illegal. Others might see that once they still regulate the limit at which the various OMC can price to, it is still regulation. And therefore, interpretation of the law becomes critical. And that's where Supreme Court
I guess you and I will have to head to the Supreme Court to get a definition
so
for
I
this.
cannot sit here and just generalize. So it depends on individual views.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is quite different from the Petroleum Bill itself.
Yeah, the Petroleum Exploration and Production Bill is totally different from MPA Act. As I indicated, the MPA Act deals with the downstream industry.
Okay.
That is the marketing of the product. After the raw oil has been refined and then brought to the market, then
so that is more of us as individuals and as the people. This is what is what we're most interested in.
Yes, that is the downstream.
So this is what is almost being passed.
Yes.
And when it's
there
fully...
are only four amendments to it. But this one, which is the upstream, that deals with the exploration, it deals with development, and it deals with production, and it deals with disposal. So where you go to exploit it raw, in that case we call it the liquid minerals. Yeah, where you go to exploit it raw, that is the upstream. And that one, is governed by PNDC Law 84. That is what we now want to replace. So we want to repeal it completely. Because since 1984 to date, a lot of things might have happened in the industry that will make the old law not so robust to changes in the industry. And therefore, they need to have a more broadened one that will meet current challenges and possibly for the near future to be able to withstand those challenges.
I know that some people in the industry, the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, for instance, they've raised some concerns, and I am not too sure if we still have this. Some of the aspects that they've said is a bit challenging, still contained in this. But let me just read a little bit of what I have for you. We want to put it straight on record that if the President and his cabinet understood the dire consequences and ramifications of this draft bill becoming a law to regulate our upstream oil industry, he and his cabinet would not approve of it. We have observed serious challenges and implications passing this bill in its current form to regulate the upstream industry, having dire adverse consequences on governance and security, a situation which will eventually lead to insecurity and instability. We have considered the fiscal provisions and others contained in the bill and have come to the conclusion that it will never ever make Ghana derive the full maximum benefit from the oil resources God has bestowed upon us. The fiscal provisions we realized are crafted to fall in line with the current prevailing system, a hybrid between the old traditional concession and production sharing agreements partially in implementation, but in all essence, it is a concession described as modern concession. Have you had objections raised and people forward their concerns, particularly to the committee level?
Thank you very much. When the bill was laid in Parliament and referred to the committee, first of all, we advertised for memoranda from various civil society organizations and individuals. Likely, Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Let me just give a list of civil society departments and all those who have
who brought their concerns
their
forward.
concerns. One is the Environmental Protection Agency, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, the Africa Center for Energy Policy, the Ghana Oil and Gas Service Providers Association, the Ghana E&P Forum, the Ghana Arbitration Center, the Natural Resource Governance Institute, and the Ghana Oil and Gas for Inclusive Growth. So there are about 9 civil society organizations brought their petitions or concerns, and that we should consider AB. So we decided to invite them for them to, first of all, do a little bit of presentation and then analyze and tell us why they think that this clause in the bill should be changed to reflect A or B or C. And they had the opportunity the whole day, from around 9 o'clock to about 5. They had the opportunity to do it. But as a committee, we are not supposed to express our side. It is put before us. So we have to take a decision at the end of the day. We open up, allow everybody to make his views. Then based on what their presentation, then we can make further consultations before we arrive. So at the end of the day, we have to engage other intellectuals or organizations. And therefore, we invited some 2 institutions to take us through a lot. So we had enough. After that, we went to Trinidad and Tobago. The committee, we divided ourselves into 3. One group went to Trinidad and Tobago. Another group went to Norway. And another one went to Malaysia.
Okay.
Just to also learn. They have been in the field for a very long time. And they will be able to also make some inputs so that we can put it in our Ghanaian context, not in their context.
Sure.
So, and Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, after the first meeting, they brought a petition again. So we invited them and invited Petroleum Commission as well to come and convince us. They came and they did their presentation. Then some few weeks later, another petition came.
From the same group?
The same. We invited them to Aqua Safari. They came and did their presentations. Even when this one came, we were about to lay it. But the speaker referred it to us and asked us to invite them and listen to them again. Then, after that, they brought another petition, which we looked at the 4 places. So we have given everybody fair space.
Does it mean that you were not considering their points? That's why they kept coming back to you?
I'm still coming to that point. Now, we gave them fair hearing. And now, when the issue they raised was that the current hybrid that we are practicing, that is in the bill, is not beneficial to the government of Ghana and therefore Ghanaians. And therefore, we should go for PSC, that is production sharing agreements. So let me just take this opportunity to highlight small on these fiscal regimes. We call it fiscal regimes. We have mainly 3 main regimes. We have what we call the pure service. In this one, it is mostly practiced in Iran and Saudi Arabia. So whereby the government invites a company. We want you to come and exploit oil for us. At the end of the day, we pay you a fee. That is pure concession.
You pay them off?
Yes, pure service. Yeah.
But whatever they find is for us?
It's for us. How much will you take for producing it? If they say $100 million for this or that, you agree. So they produce it for you, then you pay them off.
Okay, that's one aspect of it.
That is one. Then we have the concession, whereby the government says, okay, we don't want to take active part in the production of the oil. However, we'll take royalties and taxes and all other those things.
Is that not what we are practicing today?
No.
Okay.
We don't want. So you have royalties, we have corporate taxes, we have surface rentals, we have additional oil entitlement, all those things.
Pay us all those things.
You pay us.
And whatever you explore is yours.
No. During the course of production, whatever you produce, we do our calculation. You pay us. We don't want to be taking part of the oil. Are you getting my point? Then we have the production sharing. And the pure production sharing, we don't have royalties. Where the government says, I want to also take part in the exploration.
So that's more like 50-50.
That is production sharing. In that case, you come to a petroleum agreement.
When we lose, we share the losses.
Yes.
When we gain, we share the gains.
But there are some, in the petroleum agreement, there are some few things you could do. We have what we call the carried interest, additional carried interest, and we have the participating interest. That will tell you at what point you are entitled to pay. So in the pure production, there's no royalties. So, and you take active part in the production. There are advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that in the process you learn.
Okay.
And that means in the future, you'll be able to take over and then do it yourself. There are also risks involved in that. It's not guaranteed. Two, you'll be required to pay. And if you don't have money to pay, the organization might pay for you and charge you interest. And that could be a different thing altogether. So if
which
you don't
one
have
are
the
we
money,
leaning towards? I mean,
what we in Ghana currently we're practicing is the hybrid.
In between which of the...
The production and the concession.
Okay.
We take royalties at the same time, we take interest in the oil.
Okay.
So this is the fourth one now.
But what's the advantage? What's the advantage of that and the disadvantage?
That makes sure that one, you have some income coming to you, like royalties, which is not in the pure production. Then the taxes and what have you. I'm okay. Now, as a committee, we need to let people convince us beyond reasonable doubt why this one is not good.
Well, but before that, what's the disadvantage with the hybrid?
The disadvantage is that you also risk, because it has the risk of the production sharing, whereby if you take too much shares and you are asked to pay, you don't have the money. So in the agreement, we have what we call carried interest, and we have what we call additional carried interest. The carried interest, through exploration, government take no risk. That means that whatever the company invests, if at the end of the day there is no discovery, government is not liable to refund. Two, government do not pay, even though we have a share of them, let's say 10%. Then development, government still don't pay anything, even though, so the company is carrying government. But production, government will pay a share of it. If government say, I want carried interest of 10%, at the production level, government will pay for the cost of production, which is the 10%. The additional carried interest...
This is not 15 but 10%.
It depends on the...
Because we're told that in the draft bill, you made it 15%.
No, I'm coming. I'm dealing with current...
Okay, what exists now?
Yes,
okay.
In the negotiation. Then, in the additional carried interest, the company will only carry you, and that is after discovery. It makes provision that after you have discovered oil in commercial quantities, and the government decide that, oh, let me increase my percentage. There is a limit provision made in the agreement. So the government can say, okay, instead of 10%, I'll add 5 or 6%, which will make it 16%. But that 5 or 6%, at the exploration stage, government will not pay anything. But at development, government is required to pay its part. The plan of development, the cost of the plan of development. So, and then we have what we call participating. That one from the production, you start paying your share. So we had an opportunity to interact with other institutions to brief us as to which of the sharing the various fiscal regimes is most important. And they have taken us through all that with examples and everything.
And you have arrived at the hybrid?
We arrived at the hybrid.
Okay.
Because we realize that when you take the individual, it depends on the quality of human resource you have. Your negotiating, that will tell you your negotiation skills. But when you take the production sharing, you take the concession, and you take the hybrid, and you work through them critically, you arrive at the same results. Yes.
But you know, there's this allegation.
However, this is subject to debate on the floor of Parliament.
Oh, but we know that whatever you recommend,
there can be amendments.
Especially because you're a majority, I mean, it would
Let me tell you something. When the Petroleum Revenue Management Act came to Parliament, it was almost rewritten. It was almost rewritten because there were almost 290 amendments. So at the end of the day, it was almost rewritten. And it is also very important to understand that as parliamentarians, we want what will benefit the nation. And when you are passing a law, you must pass a law that in both sides, it will suit you. So we are not saying
somebody forcing us to do this, because that's the allegation I was coming to, that the World Bank, IMF, Oxfam America, and Revenue Watch Institute are forcing down the throats of Ghana with the support of their local surrogates.
I don't know.
Is somebody asking us to do this?
No. That is what we've been practicing all over. The petroleum agreements we have from Jubilee date is hybrid. So it's not like it is it's a new thing that an institution has forced on it.
But with the experience that we have, the fact that we know that we have oil, we know fairly the risk associated and everything, can we do 50-50?
50-50, like, I'm not getting
with the production. You know, you gave 3 scenarios, and the 4th one, that's what we've chosen.
Yes.
But how about we share, I mean, we share the gains, we share the loss,
we share the cost.
We share the cost, exactly.
That is the negotiation. If government can foot the cost and improve its negotiation skills.
Can't we? Haven't we come very far?
Can we? No.
I mean, it's been what, 5 years?
5 years is not too far. No, I don't think so.
Yeah?
Yes. We can improve on the fiscal terms. And in this agreement, we want to limit the elements for negotiation in this new agreement.
When you say elements for negotiation?
For example, royalties. It's negotiated in the current petroleum agreement. So you come, okay, I'll give you this. We want to ensure that it's fixed. So we are urging that the moment this law is passed, regulations are come up to fix some of them. Say that when you go in, those ones are non-negotiable. So that you limit the scope of negotiation. We believe that that will go a long way to benefit us as Ghanaians than to open up for almost every item to be negotiated.
Yes. I've got a question that's taking us back to the first part of the conversation. And it says, please ask your guest that does it mean the oil marketing companies can charge us any price?
Yeah, when we say deregulation, that is interplay. Government might come in with what we call the stabilization margin to say, okay, we'll sort of take some portion. But that will be the prerogative of government deciding. But as far as deregulation means that we interplay demand and supply. So if the stabilization margin could come and cushion, that is okay. Government says, okay, go ahead, then we'll take this. And that comes under subsidies. So, but the main thing is full deregulation, and full deregulation means demand and supply determining price. So if the world market price goes up, it inches up. It comes down, it inches down.
I've got a very...
We have to be very, I have to also make it that government might have some intervention to make sure that it is uniform across.
Oh, but you say food deregulation.
Yeah, it is uniform across the country. Unlike cement.
But naturally, it is uniform because if you have if you have Shell, if you have Total.
No, let me come. It's not like that.
Really?
If we say government says, I will not intervene, do anything, the cost of transportation, they will put it on the price. So the price at Accra might be different from that of Bolga, because it cannot be easily be cut to Bolga without a cost. So there might be some stabilization to ensure that the price is uniform across the country. But irrespective, it's just like cement. You realize that cement, there's full deregulation there. And the price of cement in Accra is totally different from the price of cement in Wa.
But I think a lot of us are also thinking that because of the competitive nature of the business, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're taking it to Wa or if you're selling it in Accra or if you're in Tema, the prices will be the same.
You realize that not all the companies are everywhere dense. You could go to some places.
So what exactly would government do then?
Some of the companies will concentrate on the markets where they can easily get where the population is, so that they make their profit.
So what exactly will be government's role?
Government, as it intervenes always, will come in to cushion for the cost of transportation. NPA can come in to absorb that, and by imposing some tax on the petroleum product, as it's done now, it's already there. So that even if you are at everywhere, you pay the same price for the product. It's very, very...
So I've got a very good friend.
That is the downstream anyway.
Okay.
We were discussing the upstream.
Yeah, we were, but
so
we're back to
make this one.
That's why I said
the upstream.
The early part of the conversation. Yes. And this comment is related to that, so we have to stick to that for a while. MD Kwesi Mine Akosombo says, Mama V, it is basically the same thing. Whether the current pricing regulations or the upcoming one, we will still be left to the mercies of the OMCs. In a nutshell, taking out the grammar in between the two systems are the same and wouldn't change the percentage Ghana has in the oil exploration be revised. Okay, so this will be the second part of the conversation.
That one is the upstream now.
Yeah. I believe that is more pressing than this deregulation thing. And please, compared to what the foreigners earn from our oil production, we take peanuts. There is no justification. We have all read the oil agreements and it is infuriating. Your guest has sugar-coated the whole thing. MD Kwesi Mine Akosombo is thinking. So basically, we're paying for the transportation through taxes, yeah? All right? And this is just the last bit that you said.
Yeah, that is why I said it is already there.
So we are paying through the taxes. Can we get one thing clear and then we'll move on? Through the taxes that we're currently paying, we're paying the transportation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it makes sure that it is uniform everywhere in the country. Now, when you come to oil exploration, all other things being equal, we should have had so much data on our geological structures. And GMPC is currently doing that, and doing that on the Voltaire Basin as well, to ensure that as a government and as people, we know what we have. If you know what you have a better position to bargain. So
as it is now, we don't know exactly what we have.
For example, we passed this Keta Basin just recently. An organization, one of the international oil companies, IOCs, had been there, drilled about 15 wells, didn't hit any petroleum product, and therefore had to relinquish and then left the place. Another company is going there. We don't still have enough data on that side. So you start from a weak side. Because your own place, you don't know. What you have is a company that has gone there to do exploration, didn't get anything, drilled 15 wells, and that has cost them over about, say, $100 million.
But you don't just wake up and go and drill anywhere. You have to do some kind of tests that will tell you that.
No, they will do their own. When it comes to geological, it's not like you do it and you are certain. You might do your own and think that with this geological structure, there's likely to be oil here. and they will never use the word there is oil there. There is likely to be oil, so we need to explore.
So have we prioritized, because 5 years on, if we don't have data, then it doesn't look like we know what we are doing.
Yeah, we might have, but it is not like we can concretely say yes. If you go to Norway, they can tell you that we have done our seismic data, we have done our drilling, and we know that there's oil here. So we are inviting companies to come. So in that case, you are certain. But in Ghana, it is not easy to do that as a nation because the cost involved. However, GNPC is doing a lot to gather more data to be able. So the moment a company has gone in there, it's not able to get oil after drilling about 15 wells, and then another one say, okay, I'll also go and try. The risk factor is already high. And where there is risk, and the one taking the risk tend to benefit.
Okay.
So in that case, your negotiation becomes a little bit weaker. You only expect that, we also pray that when they hit the oil, then it opens the chance for other subsequent companies that will come. Once they hit oil, then we know that, the Keita Basin, if there's oil there or gas there, and any company that is coming, we are secured. That places us in a better position. Like the Jubilee, our royalties in the Jubilee was 5%. Because at that time, I would say we were considered what we call a frontier nation. A nation they thought that we didn't have enough oil. Even though some argue at that point in time, it was certain that Ghana was on oil.
But we didn't believe
so
what we had.
The negotiation was quite
very
weak.
Little.
So we're getting royalties of 5%.
So let me ask you, because it looks like 2 issues in one, what we're doing. Where are we with this petroleum exploration bill? At what point are we?
It has been laid in Parliament.
Okay.
A motion will be moved for it to be read a second time, and that way we'll debate the principles.
Okay.
So we take the EMP bill and we debate on the principles.
Okay.
Then
so the first issue of the deregulation related to the pricing, what does that one come under?
We have to be very careful if we know.
That's why I want the differentiation now.
Deregulation, the MPA comes in when it has been refined and it is a final product for consumption.
Because yesterday you were talking about the price and formula and everything.
That is the National Petroleum Authority Act.
Okay, so that's very different, from this exploration bill.
That one is an amendment. This one is a bill.
Okay.
It is coming to replace. This one is coming to replace an old law that we have, PNDC law 84.
Okay.
But the one we did yesterday is to amend certain portions of the existing act.
Correct.
And
I get you.
as I said, there are 4 clauses from the same act that we are amending for it to adapt to the deregulation policy that has been we have adopted.
So let's put the exploration conversation on one side now, and let's come back to the first one, where we would engage Dr. Ishmael Aka on the line. ASAP is asking that companies that sign the contracts with Ghana be made public. I think yesterday one of the things you were saying was for them to publish the names.
Yeah.
You know,
if you go to the existing law, clause 88 to 85, you see, one of the clauses deal with beneficial ownership. Yes, that we still debated and we still have some challenges, and I know that at the end of the day, I know amendments will come. And at the end of the day, we should have something that will benefit.
So let me just engage Dr. Aka. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us on the phone. Yes, sir. We're told this is almost, they're likely to pass it today.
Is it the National No, this bill will take some time. The National Petroleum Authority Act, we are likely, with the wisdom of the Speaker and the leadership of Parliament, they decide to table it. The amendments will be completed today and passed.
Okay.
But this
so that's the amendments that's been passed, but not the entire.
Yeah, that is the downstream I'm talking about.
So let me ask you, sir. Thanks for joining us on the phone, Dr. Aka. What are the issues really
Thank you very much. First of all, we want to congratulate the Committee on Mines and Energy and for Parliament for this bill, the EMP bill. We see that in terms of transparency and accountability, there's a lot of improvement. For instance, when you look at clause 10.3, it advocates for competitive bidding process. When you look at 22, looks at the fact that even when we want to review petroleum agreements, it should go back to Parliament for ratification. Clause 57 also talks about the fact that we should publish annually, we should publish a report on the local content development fund. And the issue of also ministers to also publish reasons why he may reject an outcome of the competitive bidding process for direct negotiation. These are very, very important and very good steps for transparency and accountability. And we at RISEP are very happy with the committee's recommendation, and we hope that Parliament will pass this bill. However, we have just two issues. The first one being what we call the grace period. When we look at clause 10.6, the minister, in consultation with the Petroleum Commission, may want to enter into direct negotiation with a company when they receive an offer, if they believe that that represents an efficient manner for the development or exploration of that area. Elsewhere, in Kenya, in Uganda, and some other countries, normally when a minister receives an offer for direct negotiation, there's a grace period. In Kenya, for instance, it is 30 days. In Uganda, it is 15 days, where you publish that, yes, we've received this offer for this area. If other companies are interested, they can apply within that time. Then you evaluate the two and see which one will be the best for the country. But we are not making room for any grace period. So more like if somebody applies, we go and negotiate. So it is an appeal that probably we look at that, whether we allow some time and publish so that we can get other companies. If nobody applies within, say, 15 days, the minister has all the mandates to negotiate. But if somebody applies, then we evaluate and see which one will be better for Ghana. Then the last one is the beneficial ownership information Honorable was talking about. We feel it is very important that we put it somewhere in the law that in order to prevent future, even if not now, where big men and other people go behind registered companies somewhere in the Cayman Islands and bring them in as foreign companies and win contracts. Let us try to make public owners of some of these companies so that we will have that transparency and accountability, make Ghana best. But in all, when you look at the bill, I think that it is one of the best in the world in terms of transparency and accountability.
Thank you.
Is there something you want to?
Yes, the 10.6, I'll take note of that. Yes, where direct negotiation could be. Because when we were discussing, you advertise a block, and only one person applied. And based on the financial, technical, and professional, you just realize that the person is not within the limit at which the criteria you set. What do you do? So sometimes it makes provision. And he mentioned 10.3, which publicly brings in competitiveness, transparency, and accountability. You advertise, people compete. The same time, 10.4, some have raised issues. 10.4 of that same bill, which says that the minister can cancel a negotiation when it is seen to have some national security implications.
He can just cancel just like that?
Yeah, during the process. At the end of the day, there won't be any agreement, he will cancel it. And so many people have issues in respect of that, which is being still discussed. And I know several amendments will be proposed by honorable members. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you still accepting, recommendations like, what Dr. Aka just...
We cannot include it in the report now. But if they discuss with us and with the chairman or any other member, they could pass an amendment through any other member.
Okay.
They could go and discuss with any other. Once it's laid, is for the whole House. Any member that we feel that if you raise an amendment to clause A in this rest, and you are able to convince the member, he can put in an amendment. And already so many people have put in amendments to these honorable members, amendment to whatever report.
So Dr. Aka, are you ready to be lobbying through individual members on the committee?
Yes, yesterday we sent letters. I mean, what I just said in nice details to all members. In fact, it was after work we sent letters to all members. We were already engaging some members to see how. I also take notice of the 10-4.
Yes.
And initially, the minister had, in fact, he can counsel an outcome of a competitive bidding process. But what we lobbied for then was to have the reasons. First, it was just national security. But we should have reasons, and these reasons should be made public. If not, that discretion, if care is not taken in future, may not be good for the industry. So we are doing our best to make sure that we all get what is good for Ghana.
Okay.
I think they are doing right.
Dr. Ismail Aka, will leave it here. Thank you so much for your time.
The way they spread it, members will have it. Those who are convinced will apply for amendment to that. And if he's able to defend it and prove beyond reasonable doubt that it should be considered, the House will consider it.
Okay.
But it cannot be included in the report because it has been late. You can't.
I found a lot of my viewers interested in the first part of the conversation, which we've managed to merge in the whole bigger conversation. Yes. Emmanuel from Boga says he's confused. Can you come again? The question of oil marketing companies charging us any price.
It's not any price. It's a reference to world price.
I've heard somebody also say that there are different types of oil.
We have products.
The products. What we buy may not necessarily be the most expensive on the markets. But when we pick the world oil prices, we pick the most expensive one. But that's not necessarily what we buy.
No, I think NPA will do a lot on that. They know everything.
So what?
And they also have data.
When we have the world price, then we will leave the OMCs to, based on that, decide what they want to charge. Is that it?
NPA still will be there. So they will look at your inputs. They are all very necessary. If you just come and you think that, oh, I can do whatever I want. No, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can go and buy at $100 per barrel, and you come and tell the world that you bought it at $15 per barrel. That is the work of NPA.
But you said, I think early, that the NPA is not going to give, like
the price range
within.
No, they
we're
won't say
working
this.
within 2 to 10% or something.
That doesn't mean that they will not monitor how you arrive at those things. It doesn't mean that you just bring it and you decide to do.
So if you are overpricing or underpricing, what would they do?
In that case, we don't need NPA. NPA will ensure that there is quality product. What you are doing is in line with competitive distance. But you can't say because it's now deregulated, I will go and then bring it and charge whatever I want. No.
Okay.
It's a very precious commodity, and it has an inelastic demand.
All right. I think the NPA has a lot more of education
more
to
role
do
to be done.
Because
yes, they will go in, they will look at your cost element, and to be able to warn you.
All right.
Yeah.
We have to leave our conversation here. Let me wrap up with this message. And so for the past 5 years, we still don't know what we have. Has the data gathering been prioritized? Because according to him, 5 years is still a very short period of time. So he should spare us the not enough data talk, because clearly we have not prioritized it. Clear indication of misplaced priority. MD Kwesi Maya, thank you for following the conversation.
But I believe that at the end of the day,
you will not agree with him whichever way.
But also let me indicate that in the course of discussion, I'm not an energy expert.
But you sat on the Energy and Mines Committee
over the 3 years. Maybe there may be some errors in terms of the deliberation. They should. I'm still learning, so they should just
thank you.
Forgive me for
always
that.
very humble. I appreciate your time, Adam Mutawakilo, Member of Parliament for Damongo, but he also sits on the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament.